Unfortunately, this month I'm unable to join you live. This will not be a live meditation or anything. This is a pre-recorded video, as I'm currently busy picking up Christmas trees and throwing Christmas trees and packing Christmas trees, making sure that everybody gets their Christmas tree this year. So yes, when you're watching this, hopefully inside nice and warm, I am outside in whatever the weather may be, and throwing trees in the cold and the wet. It's tough, but it's fun. I enjoy it. Anyway, I am not dressing like this just because it's December either. I'm not trying to sort of create the ambience and the mood here. I'm dressing like this because the boiler's broken and my house is freezing cold. It's not going to be fixed. Literally, as soon as the cold arrived, the boiler decided that was enough, and I've been without any central heating, without any hot water for a good week now, and I have a few more days of it still until the boiler gets fixed. So yes, I'm wearing this because I am actually this cold in my own house. So again, I hope you're watching this cozy and warm, and basically this session is a continuation from last month's. Those of you who joined in or tuned in at a later point, you'll remember that I was reading from my book. So you don't want to know how to meditate, a book that I wrote during the lockdowns, and in January I think it's going to be 5 years since I published it. So this was just originally a little project, lockdown project. You know, obviously people at the time were struggling with mental health, struggling with the situation. So I thought I'd quickly write a sort of a flyer, an A4 page of information to help people start to meditate, to deal with the situation. And then before I knew it, you know, I just had a whole book. So I wrote the book within the year, published it January 2021, and it's available on Amazon, whether in a paper copy or Kindle. So if you would like to get yourself a copy or someone else a copy for Christmas, I'm sure the links will be shared here on Virtual Village Hall in the comments, or maybe in the description or wherever. But anyway, so I'm now going to continue with the reading from last month. So if it seems like I'm jumping into the book randomly, by all means go back and watch the previous video. It's on the Virtual Village Hall, it's on my own YouTube, I think. It should be by now. So there are places to watch it, or if you'd rather read it yourself, then purchase a copy on Amazon. But we are picking up from page 17. So, have you ever thought on what concentration is? The idea of concentrating is as if it were a constant fixation of attention, like the light of a bulb shining down on the object of focus. It is also seen as something to be used and then used up, as if concentration were like a battery, a small reserve of energy. If this were true, then how have you made it to this word you are reading this very moment? If concentration were the fixation of attention, you would never have made it past the first word or even the first letter. Concentration is the constant refocusing of your attention, such as reading the letters of a word and the words of this sentence. So concentration is the constant reapplication of your attention. So there's a practice now in the book, Anapana, something we've done here on the Virtual Village Hall, but actually it's quite an easy one, so we'll include it for this session. So Anapana is a powerful tool in building the strength of your focus, and a simple practice to build the foundation of your discipline on. To perform Anapana, all you need to do is watch your breath. Close your eyes and be aware of the sensation of your breathing in your nose. Only in your nose. Fully focus on that sensation that is most prevalent. Maybe it's around the nostrils, the cool air coming in with the inhale, or the warmer breath coming back out. At which point does the air become breath, or does the breath become air? As you sit, eventually your attention may distract itself to other things. Okay, no problem. There is no need to get hung up on this. It is the nature of your mind, and you can only work with how it is, not how you wish it were. The distraction is not a failing of the practice. The distractions will always present themselves. You simply need to notice that you have become distracted. Whenever you manage to catch yourself and notice that your attention has left the breath for other things, bring it back. Catch yourself and bring your focus back to your breathing. Each time you do this is like a bicep curl at the gym. With each repetition, you increase the strength of your focus muscles. Catching your awareness and returning it to the breath is not starting over. It is a part of the process and a part of your progress. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So, with Anapana, it's best to work with your natural breath. So you're breathing normally through your nose. For some people, when they start doing this practice, they tune in and realize they're breathing through their mouth. Some people may have been breathing through their mouths for the majority of their lives. And this is something you really would like to change and control. There's a lot of really interesting TED Talks, videos on the internet about nasal breathing compared to mouth breathing. Nasal breathing, how you breathe changes the shape of your face. So nasal breathers are sort of more kind of, everything's more in the center and pointed and longer. Mouth breathers are more jowly, and you'll find that, all under here, under the chin and around the throat really becomes saggy and loose and, yes, just very, very jowly, basically. If I remember correctly from the TED Talks and things that I've watched, generally breathing through your nose, there's a connection to having a higher IQ. There's more energy, there's more electricity, there's more oxygen for your brain, essentially. In fact, our nose is only 30% of the whole nasal system. So I know for me that is considerable, a considerable amount of 30%. But the 70% of the rest of the nasal system is in the face, is in the skull. So, just goes to show how much importance, how much priority evolution has given to our breathing ability. And the ability to breathe through the mouth is only there really as a backup. Obviously if your nose gets blocked or a broken nose or whatever, if breathing is such an essential part of life, that, the evolution has made sure that it's possible to access breathing one way or the other, essentially. So yeah, nasal breathing, Anapana is the most powerful practice to really connect your concentration, to understand your concentration, and to improve your concentration. And so it really is just focusing in on the sensation in the nose, wherever your natural breath catches, where you feel it the strongest, and then holding your attention on that sensation for as long as you can. Eventually, your mind wanders, your attention goes elsewhere, that's not a problem, it's fine. When this happens, you come back. And every time you catch yourself, you're strengthening, you are improving your ability to choose where your attention goes. And maybe you're doing this practice, and at some point you kind of lose the strength of the sensation, that you really can't tune into that sensation again. If that happens, breathe a bit stronger. So sort of, really inhale and exhale a bit stronger out through your nose. Take control of your breath. Notice where, that little area of sensation is again, and then return to your natural breath. Again, you want to make it just natural breathing. You're observing yourself in your most natural state, because to control your breath is easier. You're really, you've got more to focus on, as it were. But if you're just tuning into your natural breathing, your natural breath, everything is in a very relaxed state, and to hold your attention there, that is a stronger practice, basically. Okay, back to the book. So give yourself whatever time you can afford, and then when you have finished, let go of the practice. It does not matter how well you think you did, whether you caught your mind once or 20 times. Let it go and move on with the rest of your day. Sometimes you sit for a while and catch yourself many times. Other times you sit and can't seem to catch yourself at all. That is how it is. Do not compare this sitting with your last sit. All that matters is that you gave yourself the time to practice. Each practice is progress, whether it feels like it or not. So obviously some days, you're not in the same headspace. You've had more going on, there's more happening. You've had a busier day, a quieter day, different times of day. There's so many factors that can play into how easy it is to do this practice, how sort of natural it comes. I always found when I practice, for example, first thing in the morning, so I've just woken up and I sit down and do my practice, when I do it then, my mind is just so clear that it's really easy, And then if I do it at the end of the day, comparatively, it's much more of a struggle, So like 10 minutes practice in the morning goes without even a second's thought. 10 minutes practice in the evening, it feels like 30 minutes, for example, But so, there's all these factors that can play in, but then there's also the thing to consider that, do you want to make it easy? Is it about making it easy? Are you getting the same benefits? If you only sit when there's nothing going on inside, then is that really you harnessing the ability to really tune in, to pay attention, to bring your awareness to really what is going on, So something to think about. It's one of those things that, when I teach all these practices, people say, oh, how long should I practice for? How much should I practice for? And it really is just what you can afford. Sometimes it's one of those things that, someone can sit down and do an hour's practice, but then someone can sit and do 5 minutes practice, and the person who only did 5 minutes has done more practice than the person who did an hour, because the person doing 5 minutes, they really, they used that whole 5 minutes, whereas the person who was doing it for the hour, maybe they didn't do it for a minute. Maybe there's a whole, obviously there's quite a large thing with social media where it's kind of posting and sharing and showing what you've done, and someone will sit down and film themselves meditating, and it's just like, you can never truly be present in the moment if there's a camera on you. Who you're doing a practice for? Are you doing a practice for the admiration and comments and whatever of others, or are you doing it for yourself? There's so many things that come into play when you start practicing, but this is part of the journey. You'll as you go through this, you'll pay attention, you'll become aware, and you'll really have that option to know why it is that you're choosing to do these things. Are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing it for another reason? Either way, you're finding out something that is useful, is beneficial, that is going to lead to your growth, is going to lead to you finding a deeper understanding about yourself, and then you can ultimately choose, is it time to act differently, to choose otherwise. Anyway, I'm going to keep diverting as I go through the book, no doubt, because again, I wrote this 5 years ago, over 5 years ago, and even as I'm reading it now, there's plenty more I could definitely be adding in. Okay, we're going to talk about another practice now. So another technique to help you work on your concentration is the practice of tratak. Now actually this is, I think honestly, out of all the different practices that I know, everything I've ever experienced, this is literally my favorite. I love this practice more than anything. It's so simple and so beneficial and so powerful and just thoroughly enjoyable. It really is. So tratak involves sitting and staring at an object, closing your eyes, and then holding the image in your mind's eye until it fades, and then repeating. The object can be anything, although it is better to use something alive and beautiful such as a flower. This is an excellent way to understand how to bring your focus from the outside to the inside. One of the better items to begin with is a lit candle. So this is what I still use, to be honest. I've never used anything else. I always go for the lit candle. Light a candle and place it at eye level, allowing you to remain tall with a long spine rather than looking down and having your head tilting forwards. Softly gaze at the flame of the candle. You do not need to concentrate hard. Your face should be relaxed. Soften your eyebrows, soften your jaw. Fix your eyes on the top of the wick in the flame so your eyes can remain on a fixed point rather than following the movement of the flame itself. Watch the flame long enough until you feel that the image is well burned into your vision, and then close your eyes. You can still see the flame. Focus on this residual image in whatever form it may present itself, whether it is just as you saw it, a different part of the candle, or the colours are inverted, it does not matter. Whatever you see, hold that in your focus. Holding this in your vision, the stronger the force of your concentration, the longer the image shall remain. Eventually the image may fade and your mind may wander. And when this happens, all you need to do is repeat. Another way to practice Tratak is to stare at the flame of the candle and not blink at all. Sit there gazing at the flame and do not close your eyes. Your eyes will begin to water, but continue. The watering is keeping your eyes from drying out so you can continue with your practice for longer. This technique will build a stronger connection to your eyes, allowing you to work them in a way as you may have never done before. Our eyes are muscles, and just like any other muscle, unless it is taken care of, it will start to weaken. So in fact, this Tratak practice, we've definitely covered this here on the Virtual Village Hall as well. You'll find those in previous sessions here on the page or on the YouTube or wherever all the videos are kept. But I regularly cycle through these practices, so we'll be coming back to doing these again. But yes, an extremely powerful practice. Again, one of my favorites, and it's actually extremely powerful if you have seen something. So again, where I've just mentioned that the eyes are muscles, right? So the eyes are muscles, just like any other muscle in the body. They can hold on to tension. They can hold on to trauma. And so if you've seen something that is visually traumatic, then that tension, that stress, that trauma can be stored in the eye, in the optic nerve, in the retina, all the muscles of the eye. And so doing this practice, mostly the second form of this practice where you stare, where you don't close your eyes, is a very, very powerful way to find and connect to that tension. Think of it like a massage, you're massaging your eye in a way. And you connect to that tension and it starts to release, and ultimately that is what the tears are as well. The tears sort of flush everything out. Also extremely powerful, a lot of us in this day and age, especially being in the workplace or in a public situation or wherever it is, sometimes we feel like crying and we don't, so we hold the tears inside, but that energy that was looking to be released is still within us. It hasn't gone anywhere. We still carry it with us. That impact, that sadness, that frustration, whatever emotion it was, it is still waiting to be let go of. And so, especially if you're starting this journey, if you're really at the beginning of this, you may find eventually that at certain points, if you've been meditating or doing practices like this, it just erupts. A lot of it's kind of like, the dam bursting, essentially. You've kept the gates closed for so long, and now you found the time to realize the gates are there in the first place, and you start cracking them open and everything floods out. And it's beautiful. You know, just when it comes, just let it come. There's no point in carrying this around with us. These two forms of practicing this Tratak technique can also be used together, beginning with the open-eyed staring for as long as you feel, until you close your eyes and continue the practice inside. Experiment. It is the key to finding your way into an effective meditation practice. Now, these practices, so the Anapana, focusing on the breath, and the Tratak, the staring of the flame, you know, they can sort of lead you into a bit of a meditation, but really what these practices are practices that harness your concentration. Okay, so maybe I've mentioned it in the previous part of the book, or maybe I've not mentioned it yet and I'm getting ahead of myself, but the foundation to a strong meditation practice, the bottom is relaxation, the next is concentration. Only when you have those two fundamental building blocks in place, that once that foundation is set, only then can you really access a good meditation practice. And so these, you know, if some people go straight ahead and jump into meditation, and sometimes it can be a little bit like you know, running before you can walk. A lot of people say, "Oh, I can't meditate. I don't know how, or I don't have the mind for it, etc., etc." Then in that situation, take a step back, get the fundamentals right. You know, if you're, pardon me, if your central nervous system is full of tension and you're exhausted and you're tired, you just need a rest. You need relaxation. That's pretty much chapter 1 of this book. Then, only then, once you've got the system rested and feeling restored and not tired, only then can you concentrate, you know? And only when you have a strong level of concentration can that lead you into meditation. You know, if you're trying to do a meditation practice, and you're constantly, your mind is wandering and going elsewhere, you're always going to be holding yourself back from being able to meditate. You cannot get into the meditative state by thinking, or by paying attention to something other than following through the meditation practice, you know. Before entering our meditations, we must first understand and integrate the idea of acceptance. Acceptance is a key element to the foundation of any successful practice. But what does it mean to accept something? It is not simply saying, "This is okay," or ignoring whatever the experience may be. It is being aware but not engaged. You already have this ability. Consider for a moment whatever may be going on in your current environment as you're reading this. Maybe there are other people to notice or sounds to hear, but until this moment you have kept your focus on reading. These things are a part of your environment, and should you so choose, you can give them your attention. Yet, you have accepted your surroundings in order to remain engaged on the desired task, quite literally leaving them as background noise. If you were trying to ignore these things, then you would find that you are distracted, and a part of your focus, if not all of it, is caught up in the distraction around you, but in a denial. From an outside perspective, your focus is on the task at hand, but internally, you are working hard to deny the distraction any signs of attention. Accepting your surroundings will be essential in your meditations, for the goings-on around you are beyond your control. If you are sitting to practice and into your space comes an obnoxious, foul-smelling individual, this intrusion will distract you. But what can you do about the actions of another? You could get up and move somewhere else. But what happens when there is nowhere left for you to move to? Embrace all that happens when you sit to meditate. Accept the challenge offered to you and use it to strengthen your practice. What we consider to be distractions are our own attachments to ideas we never chose to think about. We will come to this at the end of the next chapter. For now, hold the idea of accepting all things. Your surroundings, the happenings around you, your sensations, the experience of your senses of the outside and inside world, and yourself, the thoughts and conjurings of the mind that stir in the shallows all the way down to the depths. All that happens when we meditate is meant for our meditation, offering us the chance to learn something about who we are. Okay, so with that we have got to chapter 3, but we'll leave it there for now.